Welcome to Yeshiva Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Peches at the Mishnah and Mudalef. Zog the Mishnah. Kli alach mekatshim esalach. We learned in the previous Mishnah that the Kalim cause Gedusha to what's inside them. It says in the Mishnah over here, it's not all Kalim for all items. It needs to be an item that fits that specifically. So Kli alach, the vessels, the whole lach. Lach means liquid, like the oil, like the wine, like the blood. Most of them is lach. The din is mekachim salach, to make the gedusha on the mekadesh, the liquid. Umido is yavish, mekadesh is a yavish. The mido of yavish is that does gedusha to the yavish, which means only if these are solid. We'll see in the Gemara, the solid we're referring to is what? Mincha, flour. Flour is called solid for this purpose. So mekadesh, the midos yavish, mekadesh yavish. Tosis points out, why is it called midos? Why the dry, the liquid is called kli, and the dry is called midos. So the way it sounds from Rashi, this points out, because they used to do the measurement of Yissarin. Yissarin is the size of mincha they have to bring, or chatzi Yissarin that you do for the Kohen Gadol, it brings half in the morning, half in the evening. So it has to do with midah. So it says Tosis, but there are other kalim that don't measure. For example, the bisa. Bisa is where you put all the mincha together. When we put it before you do the kvitza. So says the Tosis, says what to say that maybe maybe it's not necessarily midah because you measure it, just because some of them were used for measurement, that is called midas, but not because every one of them was a measurement. And he says another reason is, the Tosis puts out, really part of the same idea, is that by yavish you can overflow it. So there's measurements. When you can take a kli, fill a flour to the end, you can take a kli, fill a flour, and overflow and make it go on top. So different measurements. That's what's called midah. Depends how much you put into it. The lach, you fill up to the end, you can't overflow it. If it overflows, it's going to spill. That's why it's not called midah. Okay, so that's the difference between the yavish and lach. Here's the Mishnah tells us, "En kli alach mekadosh yavish, fill a yavish mekadosh lach." You should know that the liquid one cannot be kedusha to the dry one, and the dry one can make kedusha to the liquid. I mean, the solid one cannot do the liquid. It's because only one that belongs to that kli. Continues the Mishnah, "Kli hakodesh shenikvu." If you have kli kodesh, you have holes in them. If it's still suitable to be used for its own melacha, shayoysi, the one they did till now, v'hem shleimim, the one they were shleimim, mekachim, they're still mekadosh. V'im lav, they're not any more functional, a mekachim. The kulo b'mekachim b'kodesh, the only place they do kedusha is in Beis Hamikdash and not outside. Outside.
I mean, the subject, I have our shayla. 2 days ago, we learned that the kavish is the same. The kedusha of the Torah is the same as
the mizbeach.
And if the coin is going up in two bones, and the bones fell, if it's in the front alley, you goes to the mizbeach. It's behind, it doesn't go to the mizbeach. So my shayla is, why not? It's the kedusha is the same. Kedusha of kavish.
So they're learning from the pesukim. It's all learning from pesukim. So it's al moikdo. They're learning from when you're getting close to the moikid. What's the idea behind it? You know, in K&H you were saying that you get closer. You see that the bone wants to be kaddish because it's getting closer to the kaddish. He goes backwards. It means he's trying to run away. That's what they said over there. But that's maybe but the limud is learning from the pasuk.
Yeah, but the kavish is the kavish.
Yeah, I'm saying. That shita holds that the kevish needs to be has to be still closer to the fire. The whole discussion, right? That's got to be kevish. But here we're talking about the kelim. The kelim, the kachim, something which is royal to the kli, and it has to be in the Beis Hamikdash. Says the Gemara, that's all the midos between the dry one, the solid one. Of the mizrukois mekachim, meaning the mizrukois. Midos over here, I said yavish, not yavish. Midos means the measurements. So Rashi explains the midos, the zayin midos of lach. There's 7 different measurements that you have for liquid, which is hin, chatziyin, shlishisayin. Why? Because you don't measure solid in the liquid measurement. So that's why they're not a kaddish. Aval mizukois means the one that you use to throw the blood on the mizbeach, mekachim, because then it's not measurement. Shenema shneim milim soilis, meaning we did find. Where do we find this? By the Nesim, right? This is the psukim we read in the Nesim that repeats itself 12 times. Each one of them brought mazurki, they brought these vessels they used to throw the blood, filled with flour. So you see, you can use the flour in the mazurk. Mincha locha. He says, what are you talking about? You talking about mincha? Mincha, the flour is moist because he used to put oil into it. So it's not dry, it's not solid. So you're saying, I found the pasuk that tells you that we put solid into mazurk. That's mincha, not meat. The mincha is full of oil. So answer number one, you're right. It is moist, it's going to be liquid. But I'm talking, even when you mix it with oil, some pieces of the mincha will stay dry. You're right, the mincha is not as solid as, let's say, meat. But if you compare it to blood, it is. I'm telling you that even though this mazurk is meant for the blood, you can use it for something which is a little more solid than that. They're mekadesh, only shleimim, meaning that they're not broken. They have to be full. You can't make a klisharis, it's not mekadesh if you only fill it up to half. The kedusha is only inside it, not outside, not from the base. Like I said before, bifnim means inside something. There's the Rashi learns. My been out into the first and the second explanation. It can be nayu berutzi midus. I mean, the second explanation that says doesn't say bifnim means what happens when you have, like we said before, you overflow. You fill it up to the top and more. Does it have kedusha or not? So according to the first one, it says only bifnim is kaddish. Wherever it's overflow, not. Second one, it says no, even if you overflow, it's still kaddish.
The difference is that he says inside the base of mikdash.
No, that's bifnim. But I'm saying what it says, there's two things, bifnim and mitoichai. The one who doesn't say mitoichai.
The Amr didn't say anything about mitoichai. He just said
right. That's what we're talking about. The difference between mitoichai. The Amr didn't say mitoichai means even birutz midus will also be kaddish. Obviously, they all agree with bifnim, but he didn't mention the first one. The first one doesn't have to mention. The second one,
meaning even the Amr agrees to the
Milay.
He agrees to the Milay. They had he said
bifnim. Yeah. The mitoichai they don't. The mitoichai that's what they argue. They agree with bifnim, which was in Beis Hamikdash. They disagree on bitoichai. Does it have to be in the kli or it could be overflowing from the kli? That's the machlokes. But says all four. That's only when you say it has to be full. Doesn't mean that right away when you put the flour into the kli it has to be in one shot full. You can put a little bit and add to it. As long as his mindset is to fill it up, and that's going to be considered to be milay. Everything that goes in becomes kodesh. Needs to be full to the end. If only if he doesn't have in mind, he has in mind to be only portion, it's not good enough. If he could continue adding. Okay. We learned that liquid does mekadesh solid and vice versa. So here's a bigger side. Tosis spoke about leil. They're not mekadesh to put it on the mizbech, but there are kadosh in order to have psul. Which psul? If it goes in the klisharis, now it becomes pasul when you have different machshavas for it. As Rashi points over here, here's the Hoshin. Now, with the catch of Klei Allah, is a Yovashi Pasel. Rashi says, Shim Yotza Chutz Lakoyim, if one out of Beis Hamikdash, or Noiga Batvul Yoim, or someone touched it, Nifsal, the Anili Kli Lachshira Li Pasel. And if it doesn't have Dushas Kli, it's not Kodesh yet. But when it went to the Kli, even the raw Kli, it's Kodesh enough to become Pasel. You get about the some say the following: Ein Mevim Menochos V'Nesachim, meaning flour and wine. Uminchas beimo or bikurim, uminchas beimo which means beimo or bikurim mina meduma. What's a meduma? So Rashi explains the meduma means a mixture of truma and not truma. Now, what's the issue to bring from a mixture of truma and not truma? Because even though a kohen can eat it, but a Yisrael can't eat it. So that's the thing. That's why you don't bring it. That's what Rashi learns. Because that's the mashke Yisrael and mutar Yisrael. So Rashi learns that whatever you bring to the mizbeach needs to be mutar for a regular Yisrael, not for kohen. And that's why when you have something which is a mixture of truma and not truma, so it's a problem because Yisrael can't eat it. Tais disagrees. He says, I don't need Yisrael to be able to eat it. As long as some Jew can eat it, a kohen can eat it, it's good enough. So the Meduma explains over here is not a mixture of truma, but a mixture of orla. And that's the next line fits very much according to Taisis. Of course, it's mamish orla you can bring from it menochas. If you brought something which is orla to Beis Hamikdash, it's not going to have kedusha. Same idea. It's not kodesh to put on the mizbech, but it does have kedusha, which is a kelim to receive a psul. So the kelim or mekadesh is something which is inappropriate to make it kodesh enough to get psul, but not kodesh enough to get a karma. So the very middle ground, which is needs beer. Belumdus, how do you understand it? Has a kedusha for this and not for that. Continues the Gemara. Torah about kli kodesh shenikvu. Every kli kodesh has a hole. Ein metichim oisoy. You do not go and fix it. You don't put into tichim is put into the fire to what's the word in English? To close up metal. You want to seal metal.
Solder.
No. Pain metichim if you don't put into the lead. Nivgemu. Now all the list of what you say right now. All this is why. All this is for the purpose is because of we're trying in Beis Hamikdash, as we'll say in a moment, ein aniyus become ashirus. We don't treat things with like a poor man. You have to be treated with respect and a high level. So by the king, you don't fix broken killing. It gets broken, you bring something new. So you don't put into it lead. Nivgemu to get broken, misakim you don't fix it. Sakim shenivgom, you have a knife that became broken. Ein mashchizi b'dgimos, you don't go and sharpen it. Nishmita, it got broken and machzir. Abishol loimer sakim eter voisom. There's a story that there was a knife that caused trade for the Beis Hamikdash. Nimnu aleh koyanim ugnozua. So the koyanim went and they didn't fix it. Torah one brings other things like that. I don't know exactly. The difference of ma'aseh is somewhere that's sewing it in small patches. Ma'aseh oireg is big patches. Maybe how does article translate it?
Needlework.
And
then
weaving, probably.
Ma'aseh oireg is
weaving. It's like one you weave.
Weaving.
It's like one big.
One big. You don't do it small. Yeah.
Like I said, patches or like parts.
The parts it says Nishema ma'aseh oireg. Nizgalu, if they became migul, which means they got dirty. Ein mechapsim, you don't clean them. Loy ben neser v'loy ba'al. Neser and al, basically different types of detergents. That's what you do. Mashma b'mayim mechapsim. If you need, you don't put soap in them. But in the water, you will use them in the water. If all they need is water, it's a small dirt. You can put it in water, it'll clean it. Then you can use also soap. You can put it in the washing machine. Meaning it needs real strong cleaning. Then you don't clean them. It's like too dirty. You don't wash it all. Place of a shirus of Beis Hamikdash, you don't treat it as a poor man.
So what happens to the garments?
So if you get small, dirty, clean. If not, you bring new ones.
What happens to ones that are dirty? I guess.
You have to go in there. So then what about me'il kuloy shel tcheles soyo? It was made out of tcheles. That's how there was wool. That's what was done. Shema vayas as me'il ha'efoid kalil tcheles. Shulov, the bottom of the me'il. What was it? Ketzat. Mevi tchelas v'agomon v'tula shoni, different threads. Shazurim, meaning all the threads were put together to create the string together. Also kimin rimoinim, you make it in the shape of pomegranates. That they did not open their mouth, because pomegranates, when they grow on the tree, they open their mouth. Ukimin kunois shel knosas b'rosh tinokos. Or another way they look like Rashi calls it butonish, like buttons. that are on top of the hats of kids. Some round shapes. Then you bring 72 bells. Then in there there's 72 clappers. 36 in the front, 36 in the back. It wasn't 36 in each side, but it was 36 in total. And how do they do it? They did it which means they had these pomegranate shapes, and then there was a bell, pomegranate shape, and then there's a bell. This is a little hard going to understand. Meaning, the same way they're arguing over here. Is it 36 or 72? So one man, the Amar, says that it's 72, and Rabbi Doisa says it's only half of it. So similar to Maris Goyim, what's Amachlikis? Now Maris Goyim, Rabbi Doisa ben Akira Soim Elam Lvov, Kavben Alalu Mishim Mishtayim. Meaning, he also says over there Rabbi Doisa 36, and Kabz Rokame says double, which is 72. So, and you also have Machlekes, is it 72 or 36? You have a similar Machlekes, no shayes. That's the Goyim, this is talking about the Ingbolim. So Toyes already mentions over here, because male, as I'm going to say in a moment, is coming to be Mechaper and Lashon Hara, and the Goyim are covered Lashon Hara, so that's why there's a connection between the two. Okay. Says the Gemara, V'al in Yoni Bersos. Now, everybody was waiting a little bit for Agatas. Here is the Agatas. All of them before Shagodo, they have a party over here in Zevachim, because we have a lot deep Agatas in the next few lines of the Soma. V'al Yoni Bersos. Why is Parshas Karbonis Big Tikkuna written one next to each other? The same with Karbonis Big Kaparo, Abdi Tikkuna Mechaprim. They also Big Kapar. What do we see that? Ktoinis Mechaperes Ashvichas Dam. Shneimah Vishchetu Sirizim Vayitbeluis Akutoinis Badam. So it says, and this is this week's Parsha. The brothers of Yosef, what do? They put the Kutoinis Badam. So we know that you need to have a kapara on this killing, Ktoinis. The Ktoinis is mechaper on killing. Even though it wasn't killing over there, but it was like killing. The pants, in other words, to cover the erva, to rectify for erva, you need to put mechasayim. So chasayim, it covers that. Mitznefes, which is the hat, that kapara for the Bali Gaiva. The hat is in the height. The makes sense. That's far. Avnin is the belt. Because where's the belt? Right below the heart. So the mechaper on the heart. Choshim mechaper al dinim. Choshim mechaper on din bad dinim. Shema says the choshim mishpat. The choshim is for the mishpat. Ephod, which is like a little bit of a choshim is in the front. The ephod is like a small dress, which is in front of the kohen. Mechaper al avos kachavim. Shema ein ephod v'trofim. The pasuk says there's no ephod v'trofim, and he dash it ain't ephod, so he made there is trofim. If there is ephod, there's no trofim. There's kapor and trofim. Mail, which is the coat, we just learned that the mail makes noise. There's bells. So it makes noise. The seat that goes in the forehead is mechaper on chutzpah. It says the forehead. It's referring, and the forehead refers to chutzpah. So every one of the Godim is mechaper and a different aver. So the Morini, V'omay V'shu B'levi Shnei Dvarim Lo Matzinu Kapara B'Karbonis U'Matzinu Kapara B'Mo Kamach. It's two things that we don't have Karbonis for them, but we have other things that have Kapara for them. Veiluhem Shvichus Damim V'Lo Shanar. Shvichus Damim, killing, murder, Magla Rufa. Magla Rufa gives the Kapara. Lo Shanar Miktaris. The time Chanim B'nai Lektosh Chaperes. How do you know the Lektosh is Kapara? Shvayit the Lektosh is Chaper Lam. Lektosh is the Kapara by Koyrach. Immediately we have kapara. Tell Yeshua, not Keteris Mechaperes. What's the Keteris coming to do kapara on? Alashonara. Yovadosh Bechashai, Vichaper al Maisi Chashai. So the Keteris is done quietly inside the Bais Hamikdash. Nobody else is there. So also it's coming to Vichaper Lashonara, which is done quietly. Kasha Lashonara. Says the Gemara. Kash Loshanara, Kash Shuchas Domim. You just said Loshanara is mechaper with the meal, and you said that Shuchas Domim is mechaper with the ketainis. And now you're saying no, Shuchas Domim is egel rufa, and Loshanara is with the ketainis. So what is it? Like Kash. If you know who the killer is, so then the kapara comes with the ketainis. If you don't know who the killer is, you have a rufa, because the rufa comes we don't know. So the Gemara, if you know who killed him, so just make sure to punish him. Second one, they know he did it purposely, but there was no asra. So technically you can't kill him. So now you have ketainis. And this case tells us that the kapara is not on the individual. He did something wrong. He needs to do tshuva. It's kapara and amisol, because there's a tiny amisol when there's killers in the street. So what the kapara for amisol is the ketainis. L'shanara nami l'kasha b'tzina b'faresu, which means tzina means when it's quietly, nobody heard. It's like something quiet l'shanara. For that you have ketainis who comes quietly. But when you have l'shanara that's public, put in the newspaper, talk about it. What's kapara on that? That is the male who makes a lot of noise. Just one area we'll leave over here, and then the rest of the agatas will be married a little bit in the Shumach Shalom and Daf. But Tais here just mentioned something interesting. Tais says we know that it says when you don't have Avram Yisrael's Beis Din, so Alpha Pisha you don't have the Avram Yisrael's Beis Din. I still have, the Gemara tells us, you have other things that happen in the world to kapara for Avram Yisrael's Beis Din. So he brings over here. That why doesn't it say 40 years? He brings, yet he says Mashmi Farsha. What people say, why it says Minyon Shechar Beis Hamikdash, then I don't have Avram Yisrael's Beis Din, I have other stuff. Also, 40 years before Chor Beis Hamikdash, it says there was no Sanhedrin were not done in Dinin Nefashos. Before Chor Beis Hamikdash, 40 years Sanhedrin moved from its place, and there was no Dinin Nefashos in Beis Din. So why tell me one for the day Chor Beis Hamikdash there's no one who says Beis Din, and before. It was also 40 years ago, Mrs. Beis Din. Says Tais says, yeah, but I have all these big kiuna. The big kiuna mechaper on shrikas dami, the big kiuna mechaper on all different averos. So I have big kiuna. So that's why I didn't need the din Mrs. Beis Din, because I have the kapara. Shenken after Chumash Beis I don't have the big kiuna, so I need to get that. And then Tais has a whole cheshbon to say is that cheshbon or not.
But after the Beis Hamikdash, there was a kapara for the individual. The individual got his own in a different way.
Well, but Hamishon.
But also, none of big Tikkun are mechaper in any of the Arab Mises Bezdin.
For Ritzicha, Shuchas Damim.
That's only where we don't know that.
That's only the rufa. When I know the guy, he doesn't. We don't have it. If you don't have that, in other words, if you don't have the actual Mrs. Beis Din, so you come and take something else. That's missing the story over here. And I do Mrs. Beis Din. You have a kapara, again kapara for Ami, so that kapara for individuals. So this goes into it. But we'll stop over here. And well, this way end. Have the Mizbeach Kaddish. Have the Mizbeach Kaddish be'ezer Hashem.